you so much for coming. Today is the second part of the 2-day overview slide presentation of the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, entitled Transcendental Knowledge. So we are going to spend the first 5 minutes doing a quick recap, because some people are new who were not here yesterday. And actually, as we told you before, this is a facilitation. We use a variety of interactive methods so that you get optimum benefit from your time in your studies. You get printed materials, slides, and every once in a while we ask you to participate. And all of that is for the purpose of helping you retain it more easily, understand it, and hopefully apply it in your own spiritual progress. Okay? So it's a little different. Actually, the objective in facilitation is not on what the speaker knows or doesn't know, but it's more on what the participants know at the end of a prescribed session. So yesterday our objectives were to know the title, the size, the 5 topics, and their size. And then we went through some interactives too, and we looked at the key memory verses, and we started on the first section of the chapter slides. Today we will go back to the first section briefly, and we will add to that the purport slides, because the purports give the realizations that we should carry. Many books were on Bhagavad-Gita, but without Prabhupada's purports, they didn't really make devotees. So we're all sitting here because of Srila Prabhupada's purports and his translations, because of Srila Prabhupada. So that's why we talk about those 3 levels of knowing the overview, knowing the topics, and then the underview, which is the purports. So we'll look at a lot. We have about 30 slides like that. And we also have at the very end 2 7-minute film clips from the book, the movie, Cosmic Laws of Harmony. And that is specifically for the very end, because at the end of this chapter, the designation of the faithful and faithless is defined. And as we know from chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, the one criterion that makes people demoniac, they don't believe in scripture. 2 kinds of people, 1 criterion. Demons, devotees. So we're going to show you what is the projectile, what happens for a society that's demoniac. And we see it. So the film helps you make that, see the reality. Where does it go? Where does it take us? It's not a very pretty story. All right, what we're going to do now is please take out your handbooks again. And yesterday we covered the chapter title, which is what? Everybody remember? What is this chapter? Transcendental Knowledge. And that title appears 3 times in the sections. So we're really getting the idea that transcendental knowledge is important. It liberates, it purifies, it can take you straight back to Godhead. And it's also Guhyam, it's secret. Not everybody knows it, right? So it's very important. And we said yesterday, anybody sitting here who's hearing transcendental information, you had to have the adhikar to do that. So hopefully your adhikar increases as you learn more. Okay? So we're going to turn now to the section in your study guide, because we did the breakdowns and we looked a little bit at the flow through the little key words, the walkthrough concept. If you go to the second page of the general information, you'll see the themes. This is a very critical understanding. Themes run throughout chapters, and they vary according to the chapter. And they usually reflect what is the level of realization in that chapter. We spoke about that yesterday, that realization advances with each chapter. First chapter, I'm perplexed. Second chapter, I go for help. Third chapter, I have to worship Vishnu according to my prescribed nature. The fruit of that is the 4th chapter. It's not as though you give it to Vishnu and you lose. You give it to Vishnu and you gain transcendental knowledge, right? So the people who say, oh, those devotees are wasting their time, unfortunately, they're wasting their time, because there's no result to all their endeavors in this life, finished at death. So transcendental knowledge elevates you to a higher platform for chapter 5. Okay? Then you're acting in Krishna consciousness, and each level of realization gives you higher benefit and keeps cutting reactions from the past. Okay? So it's very, very important. All right, everybody got that background idea? So what we're going to do now, I'll just sit for a little longer, then I'll stand when we look at the slides. You see these themes here. These are the 16 themes in the Bhagavad-Gita. And I'd like you to circle the ones that are prominent in this particular chapter. Just put a circle around them, okay? If we look at this, the very number 2 is very important. Number 2. Almost every chapter includes a list of qualities that are expected for attaining the Supreme. And that's our checklist. We have that in the back, too. It's a values objective checklist. So we're going to definitely circle number 2, because what are the qualities of a person who has realized transcendental knowledge? What is his behavior? How can we detect that? And what should we aspire for? Otherwise, we cannot gain the association of the Lord. Next would be levels of knowledge and how to receive knowledge. Very prominent. Very prominent. The parampara system. And for us, at the end of it, because we're part of it, if we've initiated or if you're aspiring for initiation, you are part of a bona fide sampradaya. Okay? That means you're plugged in. So how to receive knowledge? First step is you have to go to a bona fide sampradaya, find a bona fide spiritual master, and how to approach him. So there's a reciprocation whereby the transcendental knowledge is awarded through the parampara to you. You cannot pay for it. We talked about that yesterday. If you're paying for education, you're paying for nescience. It's just a fact. I mean, it's material knowledge, and you need that to function in the material entanglement, but it doesn't get you out of it. Okay? So the next one we're going to circle would be mind and sense control. Very important in the section on yoga and sacrifice. These sacrifices are defined again according to the guna and karma of the particular individual. Everybody following okay? And that's in the section on sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge. They have to be authorized by the Vedas. Otherwise, if you concoct, no benefit. And you may even get a reaction like that. So this is why this chapter is very important. We are responsible for our destiny. Nobody else can be blamed. The body we have now, we earned it. The body we will have at death, we will earn it. That's why we're here. We want to advance, find a better position, elevate. If we don't, we have to degrade. The nature of everything is degradation. You have to apply willpower, increase knowledge to elevate. Okay? Another one to circle would be the demons and the devotees. Important in 2 aspects. Important in the first section, in the disciplic succession, Prabhupada really attacks those people who have interpreted the Bhagavad-Gita according to their personal whims. He said this is a very demoniac spirit. And what's so bad about it is it misleads people. He says they've ruined India. They've ruined India. People misunderstand the Bhagavad-Gita. Very demoniac. And then again, demoniac would be in the final section, faithful and faithless. He doesn't apply the word demoniac so much, but as we said from chapter 16, the one thing that distinguishes the demon is he does not believe in scripture. He doesn't. What's he going to follow? He has to follow his mental concoctions and be driven by his senses. Okay, Vanashram, circle that one. And again, Vanashram changes according to the chapters. In the first chapter, you see a Kshatriya fighting and he doesn't want to. Right? And in the second chapter, the first thing Arjuna is told by Krishna, look, even if you follow your prescribed duty for gain, you have to do it. You'll get the heavenly kingdoms, you'll get the earthly planet. It's your duty to fight, and if you don't, you incur sin. By the third chapter, Vanashram is again a subject, but it is seen in light of performing my prescribed duty according to my guna and karma for Vishnu's pleasure. You see the advancement? Now in this chapter, Vanashram occurs, but in this chapter, the Vanashram system is how do I perform sacrifices that will lead me to transcendental knowledge? And that is prescribed in the Vedas according, again, to different varnas and ashrams. Does everybody see how this works? So these themes recur, but again, from a different angle, and usually in a progressive state of elevation. Okay? And of course, I think those are the prominent ones. Everybody understand? Usually you'll get reference to everything. And Prabhupada is really brilliant. If you read his purports, he weaves the whole philosophy. You can pick up any page of any book. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Somebody noticed that about the Krishna book. They said it says the same thing.
I used to think Prabhupada only already must have thought, well, even if they just read that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's always directing people to Krishna consciousness, devotional service. You open any page, try it. No escape. No escape. Because that's the point. It's the process and it's the goal. And how can you get the goal without the same process? Not possible. Okay? You agree? Okay, very good. Okay, so did you all do that part? You're all set for that. All right, so now I'm going to stand up and we're going to take a look at, we're going to go back to section, first of all, let's do a recap on the sections again so everybody who wasn't here yesterday sees those charts. Okay? It will be the topic section charts, okay? You have those in the back of your pamphlet, okay? You can see that. And if you see them in color, the general one, there it is. That's the general one, okay? 5 topics, 10, 5, 999. 10 slokas, then 5 slokas, then 999. And the code means, you see transcendental knowledge 3 times. First, it's transcendental knowledge about Krishna. And then in the last 2, transcendental knowledge, what sacrifices give you that? And the last one is the summary, the glories of transcendental knowledge. Okay? The second one is Krishna again, but how he is the goal. Everybody seeks him, knowingly or unknowingly, and he works according to intensity and intimacy. How intensely do you want him? How intimately do you want him? Those are the 2 I. How intensely, how intimately. And Radharani holds the top spot. Nobody can take that, okay? But somewhere on the hierarchy, you have a place in the spiritual world according to those 2 things, okay? 4-4 is the Varnashram system, and it's not here to describe it so much. Actually, it's just 1 sloka. The point of it here is that Krishna created it, but he's not bound by it. And if you think he is, that's of Mayavadi conception. So again, the demoniac Mayavadi conception, if I think that Krishna created something and he comes down here in a material body and he's subjected to it, then that's Mayavadi. And we don't want that. Everybody clear on that? So that's how that Varnashram system is explained here. If you know that, liberation, you're all being liberated. Every one of these sections either ends with a benediction or liberation. Just the knowledge, so powerful. Krishna is so powerful. You just come near him. Things, sins are obliterated. Sorry. The Karma Yoga section, now the last chapter was Karma Yoga, right? But this chapter is Karma Yoga, and is very intricately defined. And it's a little bit Ishopanishadic. Action and inaction, inaction and action. And you can walk away totally confused. So what we're going to try to do is unconfuse you with a slide. The fulcrum is Krishna consciousness. If you do that, that answers the question. Anything else is binding. Let's keep it simple. Anything. Prabhupada is very direct. He said anything that does not please Krishna is vikarma. Whoa. Woo. That's a lecture. By the way, if any of you do have pen drives and you want this information, I also give the lectures for the chapter. 49 lectures on this chapter. 49. That's a lot. Amazing, huh? So important. So you know all the breakdowns and you know the size, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to, maybe I'll just sit here. It doesn't seem to be so bad, actually. Yesterday was okay. Because I think I'm all right. We're going to go now to the first section. And yeah, the first section, knowledge about Krishna. Verses, right? Now we see 10 slides. And again, our chapter title, we always put that in. Always reference yourself. Zoom in, zoom out when you study. Where am I? Okay, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. Next, you see the topics. We're in the first one. It's 10 slokas. And next, we see now the link words. And we did that yesterday. The link words help you connect one sloka after another because we take a critical word. And we've also put an asterisk, 1 or 2, if these are important. Out of the 10 slokas, 6 are memory slokas. So this is very important because this knowledge gives you entrance into the spiritual world. So important. All right, now what we're going to do, we read these together yesterday. We did the interaction on the reading. But what we want to do now is we're going to open the file that contains the purports. Okay? So what we've done now to try to make this a little more systematic, because in the past it was getting cumbersome and complicated. It was like a computer that took a whole room to fill, and now we're trying to integrate and streamline so people can follow it easy. And if you use this for study, it's easy to present. The idea is use it for presentation. So if you open these slides, either represent an analogy we need to understand for the philosophical point, or additional information. So first of all, the first slide is again, what are the levels of realization up to this point? The first chapter was everybody faces perplexities, nobody escapes. Second chapter, I have to have advice from a guru. Third chapter, I have duties according to my nature that must be for the benefit of Vishnu exclusively. And then what's the fruit of that? I'm given knowledge how to connect with a disciplic succession that will take me back to Godhead. Okay? You see it now? Very good. All right, the next slide. Now this slide, in my search, I found an old painting. When I was looking for it, I couldn't find it, but accidentally, this is an early painting of the history of the Gita, and I've also done another slide on that. But here you see Krishna speaking first to Vivasvan, and then you see Vivasvan speaking to Manu, Vivasvata. He's our current Manu right now. We're in the 7th Manu. And then in the little picture, you'll see Manu speaking to his son, Ikshvaku. So all 4 personalities are named in the first sloka. Now it's easier on the other slide because I show it in 4 panels. So in this slide, the point of this information, Prabhupada said, the Bhagavad-Gita is not just for Earth. It's spoken in the higher planets millions and millions of years ago. Don't think it's new, and don't think it's just for you. The Devas knew it. So here, it's not recorded as to when the sun god was told that. Vivasvan is the sun god. He's one of the 12 sons of Aditi. But according to Manu, Vivasvata Manu, who's also known as Shraddhadev, it had to have been spoken 400,000 million years ago. Those lifespans, I think his lifespan is something like 300 million years, of which that much has passed. So according to that lifespan, the Gita was on recorded history that old. Has everybody got that? And that's a picture of him on the right, Manu. Vivasvata, or he's also known as Shraddhadev. By the way, in the last millennium, he was Satyavrata, the king who found the fish that became Matsya. And to just remember Vaivasvata Manu, King Satyavrata is the one who wrote the Damodarastikam prayers. So when we chant those prayers, we should think of Manu, because in his previous life he wrote them. You got that connection? So every time you sing the Damodar prayers, you can say thank you Manu for that former life. Now his son is Ikshvaku, and he was the king of the Earth planet. So the recorded history for him would be 2,005,000 years ago. That's still a long time. Does this help you get a timeline? We're talking about so much time. We're just not even a blink. We think this life is so long, and oh my goodness, 100. It's nothing. It's not even a blink. Humbling, isn't it? Humbling. But also, you should realize, take advantage of it, because this knowledge is not frequently available. And we'll see that in the next slide. Now, in the last, Arjuna was given this knowledge 5,000 years ago, when the disciplic succession needed to be reestablished. So this is the history of the Bhagavad-Gita. Okay? Let's take a look at the next slide. Don't let it scare you. Looks boring. Again, but it has two realizations for us. Number one, we're nothing in the time space. We're nothing. And the other realization is be grateful, because for a very short period of time, Lord Chaitanya comes, Krishna comes, and we're going to see where they are. You see, I've added a red asterisk up there. From the top line is Brahma's life. 311 trillion years. Whoa. 311 trillion years. If you go, now you see in that timeline a little space up there? Then if you spread that out, you do a zoom out on that, then you'll see in his day, there's the 7th Manu. You see that one? That's number 7. That's that. He's 1 out of 14 of them. And he lives 4.32 billion? Is that right? Did I get that right? No. Yeah, 306 million, that's it. Yeah, the billion is 1 day of Brahma. And it's 8.6 billion. 24 hours of Brahma's days, 8.6 billion years, and that's how often Krishna comes. Once. This is staggering. And Lord Chaitanya sometimes doesn't come. And he did. 500 years ago. And he was here in Vrindavan. And we're here in Vrindavan. This is just, it's we have to be grateful, and don't miss the chance. Don't miss the chance. You'll have to wait how many billion years again? And maybe you won't be in a human body. You don't know. Don't gamble with this. This is meant to wake us up. Don't take your life cheaply. Next, now in his lifetime, we get a Divya Yuga. In a Divya Yuga, there are 71 in the life of him. And we're in the 28th one. And if you go to the right, you'll see at the end of Dwarpa Yuga and the beginning of Kali, that's where Krishna appears. And then in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya appears. You have something to add? Yes.
There is one period called Yuga Sandhya.
Yes.
We call unique. It is a combination of day and night. So it is mentioned that the Yuga Sandhya is for 20,000 years.
Oh my God.
And between that, Krishna and Chaitanya will appear.
Right, so you see those little breaks there. They show the sandhyas. Right, this is a very valuable chart. So don't let it scare you too much, but it should scare you a little bit. Don't waste time. Okay? All right, let's look at the next chart. This is the chart. Again, I took a lot of these online. Some charts I make, some I just borrow. I borrowed this one. These are the 4 bona fide sampradayas and the acharyas for each one. So we are in the Brahma Sampradaya, and to remember them, two personalities, Shiva and the Kumaras, are sons of Brahma. So, and then Lakshmi is the consort of Vishnu. So we have Brahma, Lakshmi, Shiva, and the four Kumaras. Those are four bona fide sampradayas coming from Krishna. If one is not connected to those, it's a lot like trying to go do an email without an internet connection. You can't do it. You can't do it. You cannot connect with Krishna without the connection. And the Acharya, Madhvacharya for the Brahma Sampradaya, Ramanuja for the Sri Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami for the Ru Sampradaya, and for Kumaras, the Nimbarkacharya. Okay? So that's a handy little chart. Again, I make all this available. Anybody who wants it, give me a pen drive. I'll fill it up. You can use all this for your own study or your own preaching. Now, here is our first analogy. And I asked a gemologist, I said, what's a Vidurya stone? I went online and it said a cat's eye. And that didn't look so special. And he said, I've never heard of it. But it's in the sloka, and it's actually, Prabhupada talks about it. And here, the Vidurya stone, and here, what are we supposed to understand? Not what a Vidurya stone is, but I suspect maybe it comes from the heavenly planets, because in the heavenly planets, the flowers are different, the gems are different, the birds are different. But here, it's just a cat's eye. That's not a very unusual gem. But in any event, here's the connection. That Krishna, this is the point, that Krishna, even though he's one, he's multifaceted. Many, many, many manifestations. So apparently the real Vidurya stone, no matter how you turn it, inconceivable number of colors. So again, I did try to research it. I don't have the answer, but I quote it. Yes.
Wherever the color comes, whatever it reflects the same color back.
Oh. You want to say that for everybody's benefit? We have a few scholars here, so.
So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains, so Vaidurya Mani, whichever color comes in front of that, it will reflect that same color.
Oh, it's like a crystal then. It acts like a crystal. Okay. Anyway, that was what I got online. It looks like that. That's the best I could do. I tried. Okay. Everybody understand? It says here, all those multiforms are understood by the pure, maybe that's why I don't understand it, the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Okay? All right, next. This particular example is of the rising and setting of the sun. The sun does not disappear. It's just in a different place. That's all. So Krishna we describe even he appears and he disappears. But does that mean he disappears? No, he just disappears from our vision. So that analogy is there. So again, the sun is always somewhere, but according to our vision, we may not see it. So that is our understanding. Because some people will say, well, he obviously dies. No, he doesn't die. He just moves out. He's somewhere in some universe, traveling, right? Somewhere. And if you perfect your life, you can go to a universe where Krishna isn't appearing, right? And participate at that stage. So that's that example. Rising, you'll see the first one was the Vidurya stone, the second one is the rising and setting of the sun. It's not that this is just a pretty picture, but it's there to help you remember the philosophical point for your understanding. Our next one, 2 + 2 = 4. This is a mathematical principle. Now, what are we supposed to learn from this? We're supposed to understand that no matter whether it's elementary math or advanced mathematics, 2 + 2 is 4. So the point is that the Lord speaks according to the level of the audience. The avatars who come, or the personalities come, whether it's Jesus Christ, Buddha, whether it's Krishna's particular incarnations, they come for a specific purpose according to the level. Whether it's higher level or low level, the principle is the same, to lead people to Krishna consciousness. That's it. According to their understanding. Prabhupada preached in English because 1/3 of the world knows it to some extent. Right? They know. Krishna knew. He had him do what the world needed at this time. Okay? Everybody got the principle with this one? 2 + 2 = 4. No matter what the level, the principle of Krishna consciousness is the goal of the avatars and the preachers. Next. This principle, that the Lord comes to actually to please his devotees. The Krishna incarnation really comes to please his devotees. And you'll see the demoniac, they even, because the family members are related to Krishna in some way, right? That the demons are so, they'll even harm their own relatives. Here Hiranyakashipu is trying to kill a faultless 5-year-old child. And Kamsa, Devaki is his sister by marriage, you know. And he tried to kill her. The minute he thought she was going to bear his enemy, he suddenly, I'm not your friend anymore, I'll kill you. It's your life or mine, and I take mine. So you see, the demoniac spirit is, it's pretty heavy. And just because Krishna was related in some way to these people, they suffered. Okay, next slide. Here, again, how Prabhupada gives us so much information in the purports. Now, he doesn't elaborate, but he does list the 6 types of avatars. So there are different kinds of avatars. Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Shaktavesh avatars, Leela avatars, Manvantaras. So this is elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. But again, Prabhupada's so clever. You'll get the whole philosophy no matter where you pick up the book. Okay? Next. The bottle of honey. He uses this analogy in chapter 2, and he uses it here in chapter 4. Slightly different. In chapter 2, the bottle of honey refers to licking it to the Maya bodies. They can't really get to the honey because they're faulty. Their intelligence is impure. Here, he's referring to the mundane scholarship. That scholars, he says, you're not theologians, you're theosophists. You're just philosophizing. You're not really trying to live it. So they can't taste it, nor can they understand it. So he said, these people are just licking the surface of a bottle of honey. The only way Krishna can be known is through devotional service. That's it. That's it. Okay, so that analogy, you understand the philosophical point. Next. Bubbles merging into the ocean. This is the concept again of the voidist, the voidist or the Mayavadi philosophy that, well, at the end, you know, everybody's just like a bubble and he goes into the water and he merges and he disappears. But Prabhupada says, no, he said everything is molecular. Even in the water, it has its atomic structure. There's no such thing as merging. He said even the sunlight is individual particles that are luminous. Even the concept of the Brahma Jyoti, you don't merge into the Brahma Jyoti. It's an individual particle of light. There's no such thing. It's an atomic particle. So again, to prove that this philosophy is incorrect. Okay, next slide. I love this. I found a picture of a book and they showed the heart. And in this, Prabhupada weaves in the stages of love of God in the purport, coming from the Bhakti Rasamrita, from faith all the way up, Shraddha beginning with faith, up to Prema. And Prema is, of course, the highest perfectional stage, and it is the goal of Krishna consciousness. We're here to develop, revive the innate love of God within each of us. And I really like that analogy once I heard from Sachidananda Maharaj when he spoke here in Vrindavan. And he said, if you get a letter from somebody you really, really have an affection for, either family member, spouse, child, or just a friend, a well-wishing friend, you read the letter carefully. Have you found out? Every word, you just read it with, you read it again. I know I get sometimes emails from people who liked a slide, and I read it again and again. You know, somebody liked your slide. He said, Krishna loves us. He spoke the Bhagavad-Gita because he loves us. Read it like a love letter. Next time you open the Bhagavad-Gita, open it and say, Krishna, he's speaking to us, right? I thought that was a nice understanding, so sweet. So think of that the next time you open the book and you think, oh no. Okay? Did you all get the understanding from that section? All right, now we're going to go to the second section. This is a short one, 5 slokas only. We'll see there. And these were our link words. And we did 2 of these yesterday because 2 of them were memory. Thematic, not key memory. Path. This is the famous, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. And the 4 varnas and ashrams, Krishna creates them, but he's not under that jurisdiction. He makes that distinction. And one who understands that, he's liberated. Just, can you realize how powerful this knowledge is? Just understanding that. That's that next sloka. And then Krishna advises her, therefore, follow in the footsteps of these people. There's nothing to lose. They're testimonials. If you don't believe me, look at the proof. Right? Just like Prabhupada said, many books of the Bhagavad-Gita. Some may say, why yours? Well, look at all the people. Look at the result. Many people followed this knowledge and they became perfected. So why should you be afraid? Right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll go back to our interactive, and there's the word path. And I've tried to find a picture that was either directly connected or just made the word clearer. And one thing you should try to do, it's a good memory trick, is image. When you hear a word, it's actually a very strong memory trick. Like if I say the word path, if I want to remember it, close your eyes and wait to see what comes to mind. What comes to mind will be a picture. Right? Try it. Close your eyes. I say the word path. Do you see something? Anybody? Yeah, there's something should come to mind. That's why we chant. When we chant, we say Nama, and then we say what? Rupa. If I say Krishna, what comes to mind? A picture. That's the next stage of remembrance. Then the qualities. If I say somebody's name, I say Prabhupada, you get a picture? Then right away you think of his qualities. It's logical. So it's a trick now. If you want to remember a word, close your eyes and wait till, don't force it, wait till the picture surfaces. Something will surface in the mind. And that's your connection. Okay? So here we have path, and we have the gopis chasing Krishna and Balaram and Akura. Okay. So we'll repeat this one today. When I stop, you say the next word loudly. All right? As all surrender unto, I reward them. Everyone follows my in all. O son of. Okay, this is sloka number 411, famous one. Okay, next sloka. What's the key word? Demigods. Close your eyes. Do you see something? Yeah. All kinds of demigods, right? Next. Now we're going to go, men in this world desire infruitive, and therefore they worship thee. That's what most people do. If they do that at all. In the West, they don't even do that. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. All right. Now, he's not going to elaborate, but Prabhupada said this is the disease. Everybody in the material world has come here to gain something. And that's the disease. You want something. You've come here because you want something. And it's a trap. Because what happens? You're caught. You're stuck. Okay, that's 412. Now 413, famous sloka, the divisions of society. Divisions. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 of human society are created by, and although I am the of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable, because work affects people. Krishna's not affected, and he's not a doer. He doesn't need to do anything. He's self-sufficient. And one who understands this, you'll see what happens next. Next slide. Understands Very important. You're going to see these slokas of how powerful, read them carefully because they're the key to your spiritual understanding. The word is understands, and here we see Pariksha Maharaj, and he did by the time of his death, he understood. There is no work that affects me, nor do I, for the fruits of one who this about me also does not become in the fruit of reactions of love. Wonderful sloka, isn't it? Should reassure us. If you understand that, if you think he's come and he wants something, and you're a Maya body, and you're going to take birth again. Next sloka. This is the last one, footsteps. Now, this is again, many chapters will give you reference to previous people who followed his instructions. There's no fear. Just follow them. This is a footsteps section. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Don't be afraid. Narada. And then of Krura, I just put footsteps because it was a nice picture. Of course, Krura is looking down when he comes to Vrindavan, and this is how we enter Vrindavan. You see Krishna's footsteps. Not exactly connected, but it's a picture reminding us of footsteps. Okay, now let's take a look at the link, the analogy or point slides here. We have 4. Bubbles again. This time, the bubbles refer to demigods and their worshippers. In the span of time that we saw in that chart, the life of a demigod seems very long, right? Trillions of years. Their worshippers, maybe, who knows, 30 years, 50, 100. But in the cosmic time frame, bubbles on the cosmic ocean. Completely nothing. And everything is annihilated. The demigods and their worshippers. So what's the point? So that's the point here. In the time scale of the cosmos, it's nothing. Don't get trapped. Okay, next slide. The king can do no wrong. Now, it's true that in some countries where they still have a monarchy, there are rules that say the king is above the law. Still, right? He can do no wrong. So the analogy for us here is that Krishna is above all laws. He creates them, but he's not affected them. He's independent. He's independent. Again, Mayavadi, if you think he comes down and he's subjected to the laws of material nature, he's above. We are trying to become above the laws of material nature. Either we willingly serve the Lord, or we are forced to serve the laws of the material energy. But serve we must. Voluntarily, happily, involuntarily, sadly. That's your choice, right? So you see the monarchy. Those happen to be the royal crowns of the British. Now, here's another analogy. The proprietors of a factory. Here, you see the proprietors, and they've come to look at the factory, go over it, they own it, they don't work there. And they're not interested in the low-grade sense gratification of the workers. They have sense gratification, but of a higher standard, right? And also, they're not responsible if the workers do something that's illegal on their own, or they're not responsible for what the workers do. So Krishna is that position. He is not interested in Indra's post. He is not interested in Brahma's post. He doesn't need heavenly damsels. He has something far better. He's not interested in low-grade happiness. To Krishna, heavenly opulence is low-grade happiness. And whatever the living entities have chosen to do, that is their choice. That's not Krishna's choice. You understand the point here? Okay, next slide. Rains and vegetation, same thing. Here the rains come, but they fall on vegetation, and the vegetation varies. It varies. And the rains even fall on things that don't produce vegetation. They fall on water, they fall on rock. The vegetation differs according to the modes of nature. But the rains are not affected. But without them, there's no vegetation. Without Krishna, what do you have? Nothing. Such a nice analogy, huh? Is that it for that section? Everybody see, now these are purport points and they help bring out the deeper meaning of a shloka. Okay? Now we go to the third section. Here we have the one that we try to uncomplicate the knot for you. This is the Karma Yoga section. And Krishna even says, now I'm going to tell you what action is, knowing which you will be relieved of all misfortune. Okay? So we need to know this, and he's telling Arjuna. Because if we don't know what action is, if we don't know what inaction is, if we don't know what forbidden action is, we will act wrongly and we will have to suffer. And nobody can be blamed but ourselves. So knowledge is critical. Knowledge is critical. All right? So we have here some key words. I'll just read them. Action in 16. Intricacies. Intricate? Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. Intelligent. One is intelligent, can understand that. And now from 19, 20, and 21, and 22. Those describe the symptoms of one who is in knowledge of action and inaction. We've heard the philosophy. We want to see the evidence. What will be the symptoms of a person who understands the difference between action and inaction? He's characterized by symptoms, okay? And then the 23 and 24 are one who's acting on that platform. He merges into transcendence. So beautiful. Number 24 is one of my favorite slokas. So beautiful. Everything you do in Krishna consciousness becomes spiritualized. Everything. The work, the performer, the articles, everything, just by the touch of it, it becomes purified, spiritualized. Okay? So now let us take a look at the first three. They are definitions, and the next four are symptoms, and the last two are the results. Okay? Action. Now I just showed something that shows action, but now let's listen. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is and what is. Now I shall explain to you what is, knowing which you shall be from all misfortune. He wants Arjuna to be free of suffering, and all of us. Now let's find out what the definition is. Tricky. Next slide. Intricacies. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Three things. Action, inaction, and forbidden action. That's number 17. Okay, and we have some slides to help you get that understanding. Next one, intelligent. One who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of. Right, so now we're going to try to get the understanding, and Prabhupada's the perfect example of that. He's stepping off the boat. He's not sitting in Vrindavan chanting. He's doing everything, opening temples, making disciples, writing books. Is he bound by that activity? No. The secret is not what, it's how. For whom? For whom is the activity and how is it performed? But the activity is not to be abandoned, nor should be averse to the goal. Okay? So he's a perfect example of and intelligence we cannot question. We can't imagine Prabhupada's intelligence. Next slide. One is understood to be in full knowledge. Now these are symptoms. When we go to our other slides, we'll try to help you understand this term action and inaction. But now we'll just finish these sections. Now we have 4 slides that give us characteristics. And I chose Govinda stepping over Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami giving up everything to go to Lord Chaitanya. One is understood to be in full knowledge who every endeavor is devoid of the desire for. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect. Now, because this chapter is about sacrifice, Krishna uses the metaphorical term, figurative language, fire, 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 fire. You'll see he uses throughout the book, he uses terms of warfare for Arjuna. But fire is the word in this chapter. Fire of knowledge, fire of sacrifice, fire, fire, fire. So here, by the fire of perfect knowledge, that means this person has burned up all of his sinful reactions. That's what happens. Okay, he's devoid of the desire for sense gratification. Next one. Abandoning. Now here we have the Goswamis. They're performing all kinds of work. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied, and he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of. They opened temples, they wrote books, they did so much. Sanat Goswami used to deal with people's legal cases. They did so much. They just didn't sit at Radhakund and chant. They were active. But it was inaction because it did not bring a reaction. That's the secret. It's not inactivity, it's no reaction. Next, controlled, sense control. Talk about control, the Acharya, Raghunath Das. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly. He gives up all sense of over his possessions and acts only for the bare of life. That he was the Acharya of renunciation. Thus working, he is not affected by. So you should try to live like that. Minimize the necessities. Don't increase them, because it's binding. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's binding. Next. Satisfied. Satisfied. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from, and who does not, who is steady in success and is never, although performing action. Now on the left, I'm not too sure which personality it is. Sometimes online you don't know who it is. They throw in all the pictures. But on the right, we have Jud Bharat, sorry, my mind. I was going to say Rishabh Dev's son. It's his third life, Jud Bharat. And he would eat the grains that his envious stepbrothers would give him as though it was nectar. He was satisfied with whatever came. Whatever came. And he's carrying the palanquin for the king Rahugana, right? Satisfied no matter what he's asked to do. All right, so satisfaction is important because you know what dissatisfaction does? If you're dissatisfied, you transmigrate. You have to transmigrate. That's why the Brahmanas are satisfied. They know that. If I think, I don't like this wife, I don't like this car, I don't like this house, I don't like this sari, I don't like that person, next body, next body, next body, next body. Dissatisfaction is explained when Krishna meets the Brahmana who's carrying Rukmini's letter. His first question is, are you satisfied? Very good, he said, because you won't transmigrate. Very important point. So be satisfied with whatever you have, but use it fully for Krishna's service. Okay? And person who merges into transcendence. Now here they're writing literatures, transcendental knowledge. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into Transcendence. So your work merges into transcendence. Next, the last one, absorbed. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Now there you have Haridas. Who could have been more absorbed than that? Is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Okay, that ended that one, 24. We only have, I think, 2 slides in this section in terms of the purports. Only have a few here. Okay. That's 16. Yeah, in the purport, Prabhupada again talks about you cannot manufacture a religious principle, and he lists the 12 Mahajans. You have to follow them. You have to follow the Mahajans. When he was asked about a certain Western philosopher, he said, I don't bother with him. He's not one of the 12 Mahajans. There's no point. Okay? And next slide. Here's the one. Here you have a Buddhist monk. He's sitting and meditating. Now, you would have to say he's physically inactive. But what's the mind doing? The mind will make you another body. In fact, that's why you have to control the mind. The key to yoga is control of the mind. And you can't do it just by sitting. Not possible. So is he free from karma? No way. He's breathing, killing microbes, stepping on ants, thinking of who knows what. Is he free from reaction? No way. So here we have action in inaction. Substitute the word action for reaction. That will help you. He's going to suffer a reaction because it's not dovetailed for Krishna. Now here we have a nice little brahmachari, and he's worshipping Tulsi. He's acting. So we have inaction in action. He's acting, but is he going to suffer a reaction for the activity? No. It's transcendental. The secret is if you're in Krishna consciousness, you are freed of the reaction of the activity. Okay? And that means on the mental as well as the physical platform. Don't think I can just do it and think of something else. That won't work. I just offered Tulsi, but I'm thinking of an ice cream cone or something, you know. Okay? You see the point now? It's not such a mystery. Next slide. Here's a simple one. Knowledge. Fire again. The knowledge that we are eternally servants of Krishna. Does everybody understand that? You understand, you're eternally a servant of Krishna. These are temporary designations. If you understand that, you act for your real identity. If the degree to which you think you're the body or the mind, you're going to act wrongly. But if you act for the sense of the soul, you'll act properly. That understanding burns up all reactions to work. So powerful. It's fire. Next slide. Here we have a picture of Yashoda, Vita, and Krishna. This is the movement of the hand endeavors by the whole. And I thought this was a sort of a cute connection because here she's moving her hand, but the hand is moving because the body moves the hand. The hand doesn't move independently. The body has to move the hand. But in this case, she's feeding Krishna. Who's moving her? Krishna. Who's moving us? Krishna. You can't move an eyelash by yourself. The devas are moving strings, and Krishna's moving the devas. So everything is under Krishna's jurisdiction. Okay, next slide. And this is an understanding of reality. Think of yourself as part of a machine. If you have started to be an observer of life, you'll see everybody is moving in an orchestrated fashion as part of the universal whole. Nobody's acting randomly, even if it looks like it. Everything is just like a clock. These are the parts of a clock. All of them are synchronized. Everybody in this room, whether he's leaning on his hand or writing with his pen or holding his head, he's acting as part of the whole. So remember that. See differently. You'll have a cosmic level of awareness. You'll have a transcendental level of awareness. Okay, next one. Is that the last one? Cured by curds. Prabhupada used the example that a milk product would cure an overindulgence of other milk products. Too much milk, and it affects your body. So what do? You take another milk product. You take curds, and it has the reverse effect. So all the other attempts to cure the contaminated mind are cured by Krishna consciousness. There may be other yoga systems, but the cure is Krishna consciousness, no matter what. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Everything is a partial step. Okay, you got that one analogy? All right? Okay, we're going to have to move pretty fast because we're running over time. I think what we'll do is we'll just quickly go through the slokas on this. Brahman, this section deals with authorized Vedic forms of sacrifice. But all of them are meant for some kind of a gain. The difference in Krishna consciousness is that it's transcendental. And you cannot get Krishna consciousness by these. Prabhupada says in the purports, you can only get Krishna consciousness by the grace of Krishna and the pure devotee. So all of you sitting here have received that mercy. These sacrifices purify one of sin, and they lead you towards a transcendental objective. But they cannot award you Krishna consciousness. That comes by mercy. Okay, so Brahman, some yogis perfectly worship the demigods, offering different sacrifices to them. Some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Okay, next one. Now here's fire again. Some of the unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. So you get the different ashrams, right? Oblations, again, we talk fire. They use the word, this is figurative. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and offer the functions of all the and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. This is all metaphors. It's beautiful, though. Poetic. It's not dry. It's beautiful. Next. Eightfold. The Eightfold Yoga System. Astanga Yoga. All right? Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing by practicing the yoga of Eightfold Mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So you get other systems, Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga, the Patanjali system, the Astanga Yoga system. I tried to see the differentiation, and now people are so mixed up, I couldn't really get clearly. But in one place, Prabhupada said that the Patanjali system is for merging, and that the other ones are for mystic perfections, eightfold perfection. Okay? Breath control, pranayam. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint and remain in trance, practicing offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the and the incoming into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in stopping all. Now that's got to be a tough one. In breath, out breath, and I stop all breath. How many of you would do it? Could do it. We can't. We don't even understand this, you know. And they often curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Okay? So I don't think, you can do a little pranayama maybe once in a while, but I don't think we can get it to this level. Next. And cleansed. Here's the result. You get cleansed by doing these things. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance toward the supreme, eternal atmosphere. They advance, but still, Prabhupada keeps making the point, Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Okay, without. Now this is the sacrifice for this age. The Yuga Dharma is the Hare Krishna mantra. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Sacrifice has to be done, or you won't be happy. Even a materialist has to sacrifice. He can't be happy. They work hard. Okay? And next, the Vedas. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become, yay, see, we see liberation at the end of each chapter, each section, right? Next one. And O Chastra is the enemy. The sacrifice performed in is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Right, that's the result of sacrifice. Quickly, let's look. We have just a few slides here. I'm not going to go into those. These are the 10 errors that circulate in the body that the Patanjali system tries to the soul becomes free of them. Very complicated system. Next slide. Some of the sacrifices listed in the slokas here. We just went through them. Next slide. The Eightfold Yoga system, right? Starting with yamas and ending with samadhi. And the next slide. Loophole, important slide. The only loophole out of the material entanglement is the human form of life. That's it. You're a butterfly, you're Brahma, you're a bird, you're this, you're that. Don't waste your chance. You spent lifetimes coming to this position. It's your escape. Get through the net. Next slide. Here, this one's very deep. It's the same purport. The particular body is multiple reactions. Most people are ignorant of their situation. You open a newspaper and you see all these people advertising their beautiful bodies, either the men or the women. They don't know that those bodies are the result of sin. Nothing to be proud of. Nothing to be proud of. You know, they decorate it, they smile, they put on false fingernails, jewelry. The men look so handsome. It's a package of sin. That's it. You know, devotees have another vision. You know, they have to be compassionate, really. So that's all we are. There's a package of multiple reactions from millions of lifetimes. Next slide, series, really fast. We'll just go with we'll skip this. Truth. You approach the spiritual master. Try to learn the truth. Inquire from him how? Submissively render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Prabhupada has definitely seen Krishna. Next. Self-realized. Now this is important. If you have realized the truth, you'll realize this. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into illusion. Now let's see what this knowledge means. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the, or in other words, they are mine. So the minute you find someone that is really giving you a hard time, here's the secret. They're part of Krishna. They're part of Krishna. Okay? Next one. Even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of misery. So powerful. Nice slide. That's Matsya and the sages. Okay, and next one. Blazing fire. Again, as the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. And we just have a few more here. In this world, there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Faithful. Now we're going to hear the contrast for the video. A faithful man who's dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses. Two things. He's faithful, he subdues his senses, is eligible to achieve such knowledge. Having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. You become peaceful. Everybody wants to be peaceful. Next. But ignorant and faithless persons. Now here we have the story of Yamaraj who came as a little boy, and this is the king who was killed on the battlefield, Suyagya. This story was told by Hiranyakashipu, who's preaching Bhagavad-Gita, but he doesn't follow it. So that's why I chose this picture. This is a story within a story within a story. So that's why I chose it. I mean, I don't know what this king was like, but the point was, Hiranyakashipu was telling the story to convince everybody, don't cry over your dead brother, don't cry over your husband, you know. But he doesn't believe any of this, okay? But ignorant, faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Anybody who doesn't believe in scriptures, you can be sure he is unhappy. Guaranteed. He may pretend he's smiling for the camera because he's being paid to, but he's miserable. Next, the doubts. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reaction of work. There's a result. If you're situated in transcendental knowledge, you're not bound to the results of your work. O conqueror of riches. And we're ready for the last sloka. Now here again, figurative language. He's all in the last chapter. He was saying, conquer your enemy lust. Here he's using the word slash. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be what? Slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Knowledge destroys ignorance. Ignorance causes sin. Sin causes transmigration. Knowledge stops all that. Armed with yoga, O Bharat, stand and fight. So he's telling him to fight. Okay, for those of you who can have the time and can tolerate, we'll just watch the first clip. Oh yeah, here's how you approach, a few slides, approach a spiritual master. Humbly. Don't argue with them. Inquire submissively. Don't ask silly questions. And serve him. Don't just say, I don't want to do that. Okay? 3 ornaments. If you want knowledge, you have to do those 3 things. And, this is a nice one. The foolish pretenders. Nobody can manufacture a religion. Not possible. No one can spiritually realize by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. It's very fashionable now. New Age religion. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's a hodgepodge, it's eclecticism. They've made it up. Is it going to get them anywhere? No. You can't make up a religion. It comes from Krishna. And next slide. Here's a perfect example of a hands down winner. Everybody knows Jayananda, menial servant. People would watch him taking out the garbage under a car, with grease all over his pants, staying up all night to fix the Roth cart in New York because the thing collapsed. And he could speak well. I heard a lecture of his on a tape. Brilliant. It wasn't as though he was just a worker type. He knew the philosophy. Okay? And look at him there. He's talking to a policeman there. And he's got his hands like that. He's probably a cop in New York trying to say, get out of the way. And, Jayananda's humble. Everybody loved Jayananda. Okay, next. And here's another 1 minus 1 plus 1 equals 1. This argument is that Krishna is not diminished by his incarnations. He's always 1 plus 1 is 1. He's always 1, and 1 minus 1 is 1. He's not diminished. You can't. He's not fragmented like that. Mayavadi idea again. Next, the boat of knowledge. Such a beautiful painting. We had that again. We did that. Next slide. Yeah, 2 things. The comparison. This world is either considered to be an ocean of nescience or a blazing, neither of which is very sweet. It's either an ocean of nescience or a blazing forest fire. This is what we're in the middle of. And that's it. 1 more. Oh. And if somebody comes to pull you out of this ocean, he's the greatest what? Greatest savior. Who's pulled us out? Prabhupada ki jai. Okay? And firewood, by just this knowledge burns the fire of knowledge burns the reactions to material activities. So many slides here. Oh, stages of reaction in one purport. The reactions are burned from the past, fructifying, those that exist, those that are coming in the future, everything burned. Okay? And this is a good one. This is the Vedic tree of knowledge, the mature fruit. You see here at the very end the Bhagavatam. Mostly the Vedas deal with karma kanda, jnana kanda, upasana kanda, and the fruits of those are dharma, artha, and kama. But the beginning, unripened fruit, Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra. But the Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. Okay? Is that it? One more? Oh, Krishna, I had so many slides. People are being really patient. Okay, let's go back to was it faithless? Yeah, we had that one, and the very last what's the last one? Okay. Yoga, 2 actions here. Sacrifice of material possessions, and the other would be sacrifice of knowledge. And of the 2, sacrifice of knowledge is better. If you perform work without knowledge, your sacrifice is material. That's why you have to keep hearing and chanting and stay connected. Because even if you do a lot of service, after a while, it's work. And you'll stop. Knowledge, you have to keep the knowledge going, otherwise you'll give it up. Okay? Quick, we'll just do 7 minutes of this, and we won't do the second part. This is the result of a demoniac civilization, and it compares 2 Greek words, chaos and cosmos. And it shows you how crazy the atheistic model is. Okay? It's illogical, it doesn't work, and it leads the whole society down.
The world that we live in is governed by the laws of nature, which maintain all of the surrounding in a state of perfect harmony. These laws guarantee immutability of all life processes.
Okay. Two Greek words. Chaos, you know what that is? Cosmos. That means order. The universe is order.
Are they accidental, or do they have a reasonable legislator?
Now we're going to see, is this universe created by chaos or by cosmos?
Accidental origin of these laws.
Hare Krishna.
One can only result in logical arguments in favor of one or the other approach. However, it is better to analyze these concepts one by one and look at the prospects for human evolution to which these 2 different models of origin of the world and laws lead. Atheistic model of the universe, accidental creation. In the natural sciences, there are 2 known Greek terms, chaos, the complete disorder, and cosmos, the order. The proponents of chemical evolution, that is, the accidental origin of the world, resulting from the Big Bang, believe that the order of cosmos has originated from the state of chaos. Somehow, the strict laws of nature have manifested from chaos without any outside interference. And these laws still remain unchanged, which allow us to make predictable calculations and manipulate matter. According to Einstein's statement, a number of events without a beginning cannot exist. So there was some kind of beginning in the universe, but what kind? A coincidence or a reasonable creative impulse? The starting point of the Big Bang Theory is the concept of singularity, or a special super dense and super hot point. As the primary source and the beginning of the universe, this point did not have accessible physical parameters. Furthermore, for some unknown reason, it began to expand. It has released an incredible amount of energy, which in course of time was the main driving force in shaping up our universe. Thus, according to the supporters of the Big Bang Theory, chaos turned into cosmos, or disorder, into order. However, in reality, we do not see that order was a result of the explosion. Rather, the explosion creates chaos. To accept that the universe with all its strict laws might have occurred from the big explosion is as naive as to believe that an explosion of a publishing house may result in a multi-volume encyclopedia neatly arranged on a shelf in alphabetical order. The idea of the Big Bang makes some sense only if we assume that this point of singularity was a very special one, which contained all the information about the future universe, same as the DNA molecule that contains the entire information about the human body. In Darwin's time, scientists believed that the cells are simple bubbles filled with chemical elements without any orderly structure. But with the invention of the electron microscope, the DNA molecules have been discovered in the structure of cells. And then it became clear that in this world, along with the inert matter and the forces that drive it, there is also the ordered information that causes changes in the living matter. It is estimated that a single cell contains more information than the 30 large volumes of the Britannica Encyclopedia. The information in the tightly packed structure of the DNA is similar to well-written sentences or computer programs. Everyone knows that any computer software has its own programmer and it can't appear from nowhere. However, with regard to life in the universe, science cannot accept that there is the higher intelligence, which invests the information into matter. Therefore, the concept of self-organized matter, or the accidental occurrence of life without any intelligent third-party participation, requires a really considerable leap of faith. If we accept that life and the universe came into being by chance, without any objective meaning, then in this case people would have to artificially invent the purpose of life to make their existence somewhat meaningful and worthwhile. If the divine plan of creation is absent, then the meaning of life would be simply to plant a tree, raise children, build a house, achieve fame and career success. Those who find neither divine nor a material sense simply embark on the path of self-destruction. Lack of the exalted spiritual purpose is the main cause of degradation of the modern society. Such a world outlook gives rise to consumerism, wealth accumulation, and ruthless exploitation of nature and other living beings. As a result, a society gets immersed in social conflicts and the world experiences environmental and energy crisis. Without a higher purpose of life, people inevitably degrade to the level of satisfying their basic needs. With the increasing materialism, this lifestyle is gradually becoming the norm, and the search for the ideal and the desire for spiritual development are considered an anomaly. In this way, atheism and materialism inevitably lead to a crisis, indicating the innate depravity of these concepts.